property is called Springfield Estate. It was established in about 1850, and in the late 1800s and early 1900s it was split up, and it was 34,000 acres, quite a substantial unit, and now we are farming 326 hectares. I used to run the farm as a conventional cropping farm, and just in recent years we've changed over to running taking a biological approach to conventional farming, and we also now fatten lambs in the winter, and that ranges from between 6 and 10,000 lambs depending on the market. We grow a large amount of tall fescues for seed, we grow milling wheat, we grow feed wheat. We're now growing crops with substantial less nitrogen. Plants need nitrogen, there's no doubt about it. They need nutrients. The plant has the ability to, if you've got the soil cation exchange correct, and the biology in the soil has got the ability to receive 85% of its total nutrients from the air. It can receive all the nutrients from the air except calcium. We introduce carbon, humic acid, we put sugar on, we use fish hydroslate and things like that to encourage and stimulate the biology and breed it. We use considerable amount of fertiliser, but we look at the fertilisers that are beneficial to the soil and to the plant rather than harmful, and we avoid using urea because it's high salts and it's high nitrate, and it's also leaches. But we use monoammonium phosphate, we use rock phosphate, we use large amounts of calcium, we use magnesium sulfate, potassium sulfate. So we are still using large amounts of fertiliser, but we're just refining the process so that we're using less per hectare than we did before, but we're still using fertiliser, and you still have to get the soil, the cation exchange balance, and plants require nutrients to grow. So if you haven't got them in the soil naturally and you're not producing them, you have to supply them. Once we achieve the chemistry side of it, then that affects the physics of the soil. And by doing that, I mean, in other words, if you're applying lime and you've got a good calcium-magnesium ratio, that means the soil is fluctuated. That means the colloids of the soil are able to be expanded and free. And once you reduce compaction, then you allow oxygen to come in. And once you get oxygen in, then the soil starts to breathe. That's very important because soil microbes, like our single-celled, like humans, like animals, require oxygen, food and water. So that's what we're doing. So we use methods to improve that. So we're using plenty of calcium, we use all sorts available. We use gypsum, we use magnesium, calcium sulfate, calcium carbonate. I put compost on, I build my own compost. In recent years, I've been doing a lot of studying and a lot of in-depth studying into finding and soils and how they work, and microbes and plants and how they get their nutrients and how we do that. And to that end, I started going to conferences in the United States. There was doctors who are also soil scientists, who are also medical doctors. There was vets, and they all had a relationship with the soil. In fact, some of them, I believe, and one guy that is called Bruce Tanyo, he's regarded, like from other people, as a genius, and he gets called upon to solve all the major biological problems, or where there might be a plantation that's dying, and he gets asked to go and resolve it. And they've developed carbon fibre material in the States that is so hard now that you cannot actually bore holes in it, and he's been asked by NASA to actually find a way that he can actually bore holes so they can retain these plates on the heat shield on the Discovery. I'm also an agriculture pilot, and I've been involved in agriculture aviation since 1982. Now my son Duncan does majority of the flying, and in that field we do conventional top dressing, we do aerial spraying, we do a large amount now of suspension fertiliser. That's when we are mixing fine ground lime or fine ground RPR with biological products and are spraying on the land. If you're going to use an alternative to fungicides or an alternative to nitrogen, or not put any on, you have to supply an alternative. You can't go out there and with a potato crop and say, okay, we're not going to spray it with fungicide, because the chances are that it will get disease. So you have to supply an alternative to the fungicide. It's the same with nitrogen. All plants require nitrogen, and it will not grow without nitrogen. So by doing nothing, nothing will happen.